Let's talk about the amazing address that our good friend Bibi Netanyahu gave to Congress yesterday. This was a big deal for a while, and then Biden stepped down, and suddenly it took the wings out of the sails of the entire event. But there were quite a few interesting things to talk about here. What really stood out to you about the speech, the politicking around it, everything that went down?
I enjoyed seeing some of the Congress folk holding signs that said this is still a genocide, and holding signs of like we do not support. I appreciated the silent protest that continued there. The thing that stood out to me the most, and I'm curious about your opinion on this, because we oftentimes get into decorum and respectability politics, but something that just did not sit right in my soul was how many standing ovations he got. It just feels it felt weird, because you're listening to him. He lies. He tells a lie. No civilians were ever harmed, and we're like, we absolutely know that you're lying. We know that you're lying because we watched them. We watched them at first person accounts. Like, we're not watching some news organization tell us. We did have a health organization tell us that it was over 100,000 or over 150,000 that they had
It was over
estimated.
150,000, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, over 150,000 that they estimated actually did lose their lives or get hurt. So we know that that's not true. And then he says it, and it's like this mic drop moment, and literally the whole room stands up and they're clapping for him. And I'm like, it was just very dystopian. That is something I can't get that image out of my head. But what stuck out to you with what he said, or what happened?
So it is funny because like he even said during the speech, he was like, October 7th was like 29/11s, and it's like, hold up, hold up. Like, even just mathematically speaking, even if I was the most pro-Israel American in the world, that would, I feel it should come across as insulting, because casualty-wise, it wasn't even 9/11. Like, if you're just going with pure numbers. And also, it wasn't nearly as like spectacular and shocking. That was a bad day, and a lot of innocent people died. But like, to come into America and be like, the thing that happened to my country is 20 times worse than the worst thing that happened to your country, and then have that Congress give you a standing ovation, just it seems unreal. It doesn't seem like we're living in the reality that should be reality. And it doesn't surprise me America's continued support for Israel. I'm very happy with how far the needle has moved on this issue. I don't know about you. I imagine you've been on this since well before, October 7th, and everything's gone down. But, if you think back to the days before then, it instantly made you a pariah to even say free Palestine. It was, you got instantly called anti-Semitic, whatever. It was a very small minority group fighting to free Palestine. And now it's in vogue. The Overton window has shifted massively on this issue. And it's something that the left in general should be proud of. As much as we haven't stopped it, it is looking forward through future generations. Now it seems impossible for this relationship to continue as it has been. And I think that's why you're seeing such desperation from Bibi, is that he knows that it's going to be over soon, and he needs to, bloodily take as much land and power as he can before then.
Right.
But yeah, it was a weird sight. I loved Rashida Tlaib holding up that sign. I thought it was wonderful. Yeah. I loved that so many Democrats came around and didn't show up. I thought that was a powerful statement. I saw that there were families of hostage members that showed up in it was like a deal now or something like that. We want a deal now t-shirts, and they got arrested and removed from the chamber, which I just think is such an obvious symbol of just how dumb this whole thing is. I do think that this is going to be looked back on as one of those moments, and the people who were standing up there and giving him a standing ovation are going to have severe political consequences in 10 years when everyone decides that, of course, this was always the wrong thing to do. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see how this will all play out, because we had Nancy Pelosi come out today and heavily attack Netanyahu. Did you see that? The tweet she said, where she was like,
no.
She came out and said that this was the worst speech given before Congress by any foreign leader ever. And it was interesting because she hasn't had that stance for a little while. That was the most aggressive statement I've heard from a senior Democratic leader against Netanyahu, at the very least. And I do think that it might be a little bit telling of who was really steering the ship when it came to our Israeli policy. And I do think that Biden is maybe even more responsible for it than we previously thought he was, because if Pelosi's suddenly coming out against Netanyahu,
right,
when she wasn't before, it might indicate that the party wasn't so coalesced around Israel as we might have thought it was. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on like moving forward from this? Because we've well litigated everything that's happened so far. But what do you think happens with a new president in place, assuming Kamala? If Trump wins, it's very bad things that happen, and we all know that. But if Kamala wins, what do you think? Reading the tea leaves, how do you think that this goes with Gaza, with Israel, and U.S. foreign policy in general?
I think see, this is where we're going to get we're going to get into a strange place with Kamala's background. And because, like you said, I can't remember if you said this before we were recording or not, but like Republicans like cops. Like identifying Kamala Harris as a cop. Well, Republicans like cops, so what happens with the thin blue line crowd after this? But I said that to say, I could see easily Kamala being like, "Well, we got to do our job," and arresting Netanyahu, acting as the Security Council of the UN. I think she's actually going to do and start pushing forward on that, and being like, we're gonna hold people accountable. This is my background. I was a attorney general. This is what I'm gonna do. She's not gonna say that before the election. She's gonna do it right after the election, and she's gonna do it under the guise. And because what will happen is you'll have to get Republicans on TV that say they're against law and order. They're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to have Republicans in the House say that they're against law and order, because she's gonna say, my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. I have to do this as the executive. This is my responsibility, because this is the United States' responsibility. Or should we not be the world police? I could see something like that happening. It just as much as I could see her never talking about Gaza again, maybe stopping foreign aid because she wants to stop talking about Gaza. So, and she'll do it like that too. So if she doesn't take any aggressive action, it'll be like a defensive action where she stops all, they place an embargo, and then they, stop trade. They stop selling them weapons. They stop giving them aid and stop doing all of this stuff. And again, she'll say, well, my hands are tied. I have to follow the law. And it's going to be that. You're going to have to make Republicans come out and say they don't want to follow the law. and I don't think they'll be able to. So I think we're gonna be able to kind of coast in that direction, and that'll be the most that we'll get out of this 4 years.
That would be I would be very happy if that was the case. I'm kind of just like, you know what? I'm going to just put whatever she wants to do with Israel and Gaza, I'm going to put that in a box labeled for December, and we're going to open that up in December, because I'm not going to worry about it too much, because again, up until now, my options have been more of Biden or way worse than that. And so anything that isn't those two options, the chances of it being at least in the right direction are pretty good. I haven't talked myself into believing that it's going to be like objectively good, just relatively good. But you make an interesting case there, because America has never followed international law. Ever. Like we don't care about it. We think that American law supersedes international law. And when I point out that like people are in violation of, we are in violation of international law, when people, because it was let me back up here. When the college protests were going on and people were like, oh, well, these students are breaking the law and they know they're breaking the law and they should know the consequence. And I was like, yeah, but they're breaking the law in protest of us breaking the law as a country. And they're like, what do you mean us breaking the law? It's like, well, it's international law that these people are committing apartheid and we are aiding them in doing so. We are aiding and abetting a very serious crime against humanity. And they're like, oh, well, it's not an American law. And they genuinely believe that it supersedes it. A president that straight up said America needs to follow international law, because the ICJ, the UN's court, ruled very recently that the Israel is breaking, international law, especially with their settlements on Palestinian territory. And I haven't even I've been so focused on everything else. I haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty of that ruling yet. And do intend to kind of this weekend when I have some time, but it would be an interesting play. Hey, I'm a prosecutor. I follow the law. I enact the law. The ICJ says that Netanyahu is a war criminal. I'm going to prosecute him as such. We'd have celebrations, right? There'd be we'd be jumping for joy in the streets.
Yeah, I mean that would be it would be amazing. It would be insane. I would love to see that. And just to give you like some insight, I read it really quickly and kind of watched the reading of the opinion. It's long, but I watched kind of now what do you do, the stipulations of it. I can't tell. I'm not an international law student or lawyer. I'm not 100% sure, but I can't tell if Netanyahu even being here breaks that, because we're not supposed to even acknowledge Israel. So like any of the states that are part of the UN are not supposed to acknowledge Israel right now, or aid Israel right now in any manner at all. Is putting him up in a hotel and like flying him here and having him, because I thought for sure he just wouldn't come after this. Like, oh, okay, well, I mean, you can't step foot in America, right?
Yeah,
because like you just brought yourself to the police station, dude. Like a warrant went out for your arrest, and then you went to the police station. Like that's
yeah,
what
but
feels
it's
happened.
The mob boss going to the police station,
yeah,
knowing that
the
he hasn't paid
boss.
off. Like he's allowed to
right.
show up there. They're not going to arrest him because he's got him on the take. So
yeah, they know who they know who he is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Kamala Harris skip his speech? Did she not go? I kept hearing
to preside
that
over it. Yeah, which is a good sign. Which is a very good sign.
Right, because that we figured it out. That's what the vice president does.
they preside over
Congress. Okay, joint session of the Congress. Okay, cool.
They break
Um,
ties in the Senate. That's the other important thing they do.
that is the other important thing they do. I remember that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of predictions or anything I have about what I think could happen. Could happen.
Well, we'll find out. Let us know what you think will happen in a comment. Look at these plugs. I'm killing it. I'm killing it, Ryan. Hit that engagement. Give us that algorithm. We love you guys. See you next time. All right. So that is our Israel segment. Anything else that you want to discuss on that topic? I'll give you the floor.
No,
Okay.
nothing.
It really has. I've almost felt guilty that it's like taken a little bit of a back seat in my thoughts and content with everything going on with the presidential election. But I do genuinely believe if Biden would have stayed in, we would have had a Trump presidency, and that would have been the worst of all possible worlds for the people of Gaza. So I agree with you. She should kind of just be relatively quiet about it, keep hinting that she's to the left of Biden, and just we'll deal with it in December.
Right, just get her in there. I told someone the other day, let her get the job and mess it up. Let her mess up the job first. Y'all are already firing her, and she doesn't even have the job, and she can't mess it up worse than Trump. So at this point, just let her get the job. If she messes it up, so does every president. Like it's everybody's got flaws. Everybody's got things. It's just that we remember them fondly after, and we have all these kind of rose-colored glasses when we look back on them. But while they were president, people didn't like a lot of these people. Like, we're never satisfied with the president. We hate all of them.
Yeah,
but good. We should.
Yeah, we should. They all deserve. They all deserve our hatred and
all politicians' feet to the fire at all times.
Yes, yes. Kyle asked with regards to Harris's position. I do wonder how sorry, I'm going to restart this. We're going to try again here. Kyle asks, with regard to Harris's position, I do wonder how her position is influenced by her husband and stepchildren. Do they, like me and my Jewish family, see Netanyahu as a menace? And this is why, because I was thinking this when you were saying the prosecutor angle. I do imagine the fact that he's never like said anything like publicly really about support for Israel, when he obviously could have, if that is what Harris's position was, and it would have been supportive of the president, does indicate to me that there's a decent chance he's one of the Jewish people who are against Netanyahu's regime. There's many of them, including many the people, the families of hostages who were arrested the other day for protesting him. But right. That prosecutor angle really takes the Jewish culture and religious aspect out of the question, because it's like, oh, this isn't about Israel. This isn't about a Jewish state. This is about following international law. And I'm going to do that as a prosecutor. And it makes it really hard to argue against, Ryan. Like, I absolutely love this angle. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because it really it beats the question before it can even be asked. Right. And what do you even argue then? You know, that you go along with, the entire UN and ICJ is just corrupt. Like, they're all anti-Semitic. Right. I don't think that's actually going to fly unless, Biden's just, you're like Biden, just ignore it. If Kamala doesn't ignore it, it's virtually impossible to legitimately argue against. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this entire show. You made it to the end. Congratulations. Your prize is you get to know where you can find our amazing guest, Ryan, elsewhere on social media. So, Ryan, how about you tell people where they can find you?
Main platform that I use right now is TikTok, but pretty much everywhere you can find me is IDEFOverthink. That's at IDEFF Overthink. And you can find me over on TikTok and Instagram. I make videos talking about anti-racism, politics, and intersectionality, how those two things fit together. So check me out over there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Ryan. TJ usually closes this with a joke right about now, but nothing's coming to mind. So I'm just going to say bye, people. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff, and be here next week.
Peace.
All right, cool. And I will end the stream there. Awesome.
Cool.